Hey everybody, and welcome to Alan's Bonsai. Today I'm going to feature three narrow leaf ficus. And all ficus are tropical trees, and narrow leaf is no exception. They love the heat, humidity, lots of fertilizer, lots of rainfall. And I live right at the northern border of Zone 10 in the US, so I grow a lot of tropical trees. This tree I've been growing for a considerable period of time, probably 10 years, maybe longer than that. And it has an amazing nabari. I mean, just absolutely crazy how big and thick the roots are, and it goes all the way around. And this is the back, obviously, because we have the back branch. And it's interesting because there's this big scar there that I created. I chopped it down to nothing. And you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I have pictures of this guy. So I do know how old this thing is. I have pictures when I did this chop and it was just a stump. So I will show you those. But it has always wanted to sprout from here. And it's like no matter what I do, it just keeps sprouting from there. So that's just a constant maintenance I have to do. But that's not that big of a deal. The tree itself has very nice taper. The trunk chop is right here, but you don't really notice it. I do believe there's another fairly heavy chop right here. So this tree has great taper. There's a couple of things about this tree. This branch here is too heavy. And you notice that all this growth here is encroaching up into the branches above it. So I'm going to cut all of that off. Looks like I'm going to need to do it in 2 phases. And then I'm also going to cut away some of the branch so it's not as heavy visually. And ficus have very funky wood, so my cutters don't even want to cut. So let's just rip it apart. It'll heal. So that gives a space between the branches. This branch here was fairly weak, so I allowed all of this growth here to emerge, and I just left it. And so now that has thickened up pretty nicely. So I'm going to just give that stuff a haircut. I'm going to cut to here so that this is the new leader of this branch. It's pretty sparse in here, and I'm probably going to end up using these branches here to fill in the rest of the ramification. And then the rest of it is just keeping it into the silhouette that I want. And it's got really nice motion up to the apex. Very decent branch structure. There's no parallel branches, there's no bar branches. There's a good couple of back branches to give it depth. And since it's now February, whatever it is, 18th, 19th, I don't know. When you're retired, the days just roll into one. And at a future date, I'll take more time and wire this guy all up. But that's a tree that I really like a lot. And ficus are like this because you'll see the next 2 trees also have massive roots, trunk bases. So that's it for this guy. This is tree number 2. And I acquired this tree from a friend of mine who liquidated her collection. And I didn't even realize it until just now. But this tree is in the exact same pot as tree number 1. I can't believe it. I was just like, wait a minute, that looks like the same pot. And sure enough, exactly the same. Same style, same size, same everything. Now this tree's a little taller, a little wider, and it has some things that, you know, unfortunately. Now interestingly, this first main branch actually comes from the back. It comes, if it hadn't been wired into place, it would be shooting straight back. But it was wired into place. Unfortunately, the wire was left on too long, so I'm not sure if you can see that. See if we can bring it closer. So there's a couple wire scars right there. It's not that big of a deal, but it's something I try to avoid. And then, you know, a lot of this stuff could be wired down, and there's a little confusion with the apex. Is this the apex or is this the apex? And then if we wire this down, then there's this gaping hole right here. But we can take this guy and put that into place. So I'm going to give this guy a haircut there. And we can put that guy into place. And that will solve the gaping hole. And then the question is, where do I want the apex? And honestly, in this video, I'm really not prepared to make that decision. There's another thing about this tree that is, once again, it's not that big of a deal, but it's leaning forward tremendously. If you look, it's just leaning way, way forward. And so, you know, by rights it should be probably something more like that. So this tree is due for a repotting. Even though if we check out the roots in the soil, it's not root bound, but it could definitely use to be repositioned in the pot. However, ficus, since they're tropical trees, they don't really like having their roots manipulated until it gets warm. So since I'm at the northern border of zone 10, you're talking like May, maybe April, and so bring this guy more up like that. And I'm really leaning towards having this one as the apex. I just kind of like the way it flows like that. This could make a decent apex, but I think this one has a little more motion, a little nicer taper, then in which case most of this guy is just going to come off. So then I don't have to deal with that. If that does happen, and I take all of this guy off, then I really need to take these limbs here and promote them to take over the space that this guy is going to vacate. The back branch is quite heavy, so right now I'm just going to take it to there and there. And I want to wire this guy down. I think this is going to end up being a taller, wider tree than the first one I showed you, but it's still got killer roots. Not as much in the back. And it has some aerial roots. This one is producing aerial roots. And there's one more thing that I really don't like about this tree. If you can see, there's 3 small aerial roots that have all come right across the trunk. And I don't want any of them, because they just detract from the base. So I'm taking all 3 of those off, if I can get them. And this aerial root too, all this aerial root's going to do is make this branch way too thick. So I'm taking it off too. This is not going to be a banyan. If I wanted a banyan style, then you want as many aerial roots as you can. But those 3 that were coming across the trunk, I think visually they were just totally unnecessary. So that's pretty much a good synopsis for this guy. Another very cool tree. And the wire scars are unfortunate, but typically what happens is, and ficus grows so fast that it will, those wire scars will become less and less noticeable over time. So that's it for this guy. So last but not least, we have this guy here. And it's got two huge scars that may never heal, but I don't think that's bad. I think, you know, this could conceivably be the front of the tree, something like right there. And we've got enough back branching and hide the scars, you know, first main branch. But I really like this. I really like the scars as the front of the tree. So I'm going to keep it as the front of the tree. Now this guy has some crazy roots that are just shooting into midair, doing nothing. So I'm going to take those guys off and clean all of that up. Actually, I'm going to turn them around so I can get to these. And this is another typical narrow leaf ficus with the huge buttress trunk. The nabari may not be totally perfect. You can see here it's kind of straight, but it's still a very cool tree. I like this a lot. And did I say that my friend gave me this one too when she got rid of her collection? And there's also kind of a big knob up here, but it's really not all that noticeable. The one thing that is noticeable is this branch here has become very heavy, and it's almost competing with the apex. And the apex on this tree is really just like 3 or 4 small limbs, but that works. But this guy is too heavy, and we really want this tiny part of this branch to really be part of it, so I'm going to take him off. And then as far as the rest of the design, I'm really looking at a tree that I really like just the way it is. And I'm not sure about repotting. It's pretty solid in there, but I'm not entirely sure it needs to be repotted. So that's a really nice tree. I really like this one. So there you go, 3 different ficus, 3 different styles, 2 in the exact same pot, which is really crazy. And if you live in a tropical climate, or if you have really good winter cold protection, a heated greenhouse where you can keep it at least 50, even more than that, the narrow leaf ficus is just a fantastic bonsai specimen. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to watch the progress of these trees, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, because every tree I feature, I will be giving updates every time I work on them. So you'll be able to see them grow and mature over time. And the best way to do that is subscribe. And so that's it for this video. We're supposed to be getting about 24 hours of rain, so trying to get in before the rain. So thank you so much for watching. Oh, and leave a comment if you like what I'm doing, if you have even, you know, design changes on these trees that you think might make them better. Please leave a comment. Let me know how I'm doing. I'd love to hear from you. So thanks for watching. Oh, the neighbor's dogs are out. And they let you know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Boo!